That's cool, but it's just example. It really wasn't cool because I could think a lot worse examples, but it's easy to pick on someone when you're looking at a chart. He's the president. He picks on all of us, and everybody else we can pick on him. It's just insights about it that are coming from his chart to try and imagine how this experientially is working. Okay, and his Venus affects his visions and his dreams and his temptations. So Venus can be unreliable. It gets exaggerated by Neptune. It gets exaggerated. It feeds the exaggeration of understanding. So it's what he wants, really. When he wants something, he can't see anything. He understands, I got to get it, this got to get it. That's all he can see. And then he goes on that and he lives his life accordingly. And then he gets more of what he wants, and it's self-justifying itself. Okay, as this goes along. As well as he's doing this, his lifestyle affects the way he thinks. It's a spin. His thinking is a spin-off of the way he lives. He lives rich. He's really rich. He's well off. He lives that way. His thinking is tied up to the rich. It's not fixed up for the poor. I mean, by putting on the tariffs and all these things, he's increasing the taxes, and the poor people are going to pay 10 times more for all the little things they normally would get for free. And the big businesses in America are going to pick up the slack or let go of it, and they're going to benefit significantly from it. And the tax will come in. And so his ideas are affected by his moods and feelings and his memories, which are not exactly in control. They're exaggerated. As Jupiter, they're self-righteous. Right? He believes in what he's doing, and this is how we want. This is obvious. It has to go like this. We have to do this. He does things very quickly like that. The repercussions come later with the Saturn, but the Mercury is affected by it. So once that starts going around, his mind just aligning to it, aligning to what he feels in the moment, or to his memories, or that affects his thinking, which then affects his sense of importance or confidence. And his confidence is based on his mind, not his heart. So here, the mind is being affected first, and then his confidence, his ego is coming out next. And then once that comes out, he acts on it. And he runs into blocks or power struggles, or identifies to it, but he acts on it. The Mars and the doing things is low on the totem pole. The source of it is how he's living in the family. So he's in the present, but he got all the family members into jobs, and he's even waived their security features and waived all that to get them in place. So he has his own cycle going on. All his chart, most of his charts rising except the setting moon. So he pushes everything out except for the home, the hotel, like the security, having places. It's inside. So he doesn't want to just have one place. So if I got a bunch of hotels, I can be in all sorts of places. When his empire got threatened, he had overextended, had so much property, he had to let go of a third of his property or sell off several big hotels and conglomerates because he ran out of cash flow. And then he rebuilt again. Now he's president. And for sure, his empire is not being diminished because of being president. The rules being made are not going to go against the benefit of his hotels chains and his businesses. In fact, one of his businesses is selling voting machines, electronic voting machines, to China and to other countries. It's a big deal. So he would know how to rig or how to get election machines, how they would work properly, how they could work questionably, how they could be used, what conditions could be put on them. It's something he would know. But he is really, what makes him look vain, he really is ruled by his Venus and his moon and Jupiter. I want this, I'm so good, I'm so like that. He has this charm, I can get this, I can get this. I have the money, so I understand if I have the money, I can get this, I can be who, and it goes along, it goes around the circle. But if he was with somebody and suddenly they didn't want to be with him or didn't want his money or they detached from it, he would have trouble coping with it. He would find somebody else that would spin around in a different way. So you see with his natal chart, he has the moon opposed the sun and Uranus conjunct it. He's born on an eclipse, a full moon eclipse. So like he has broken families. He has broken, well, nowadays, who doesn't? But anyways, this is just looking at his chart. So we have an example to look at. We're going to go a little bit late tonight. But his was a good example, was where you have a loop and how it affects, but you allow it to take you and you wonder about it, you think about it, and you put your concepts in it. I'm sure his could be interpreted probably a little more positively if I were very right-wing and very much into his way of thinking. I could probably say, well, this is the belief in what I have the true values. I believe in the true values. I have lived up to it. That would be the born again. You know, the globalization of the world is the Antichrist. And so anybody that's going against the globalization or against the merging of cultures, that's going to be more closer to Christ, so will align to that. And you can see that understanding the beliefs affecting the values and the lifestyle and guiding his thoughts, and he acts accordingly. So whoever affects his thoughts, which are really the women and the mother and the women in his life, control most of the things around him. Okay, Carl Jung. Now, okay, so Carl Jung, Sun in Leo, there's a rulership in Leo. Mercury, Venus in Cancer, Moon in Taurus, Saturn, Aquarius, there's another rulership, Mars and Sag, Jupiter. So Saturn and the Sun are the rulers. So we're going to start with the Sun. Uranus is in Leo, so the Sun rules Uranus and the descendant. But let's just say Sun rules Uranus. Saturn's in Aquarius, it rules the ascendant. So his commitment is being responsible, a serious identity. I want to work, I want to achieve, I want to be the doctor, I want to be a psychologist. I got to get the degree to do it, to be established, to work with establishment. And his confidence in the seventh is relating and counseling to people and having it created his own individual take on it, to Uranus. But these two, Saturn only rules the ascendant. There's nothing else in Capricorn and Aquarius. So they're just two trees on themselves. The main current of things, the main planets are working, they're buzzing away in a whole nother area, in a whole nother complex in his life. So his moon is in Taurus, it's ruled by Venus. Venus is in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So what he needs, what he wants, I want to live like this, I like this, I want this comforts, I need this, those interrelate to each other. Okay, that's the primary, it's a mutual reception, they each rule each other. And then the Venus, where are we here? The Jupiter is, where's Jupiter? Jupiter's in Libra, and the moon, Pluto, and Neptune is in Taurus. So Jupiter's in Libra. So there's, Venus rules all these planets, but the moon mutually affects the Venus. So the lifestyle affects the Venus, but the Venus and what one wants affects the lifestyle and the understanding and the actions and the status. And the Venus has temptations and power struggles around it too. So in his studying with Freud and then breaking away from Freud, that's one thing. But really, in his chart, he has the Sun, Neptune, Ascendant, Neptune. There's a lot of confusion. But when you look at this, he was married a well-off lady. It gave him the lifestyle he wanted, and he finished his he got his education, he got his degree, he married a wealthy lady and started his course, and she was always backing him up. But when having the family, he had the family, and he was thinking about the family there determined his personal thinking. But at the same time, he kept his work very separate over there, and he had affair whenever someone was nice to him at work. He had affairs with his secretary, was known to have other affairs during his life. But the secretarial one lasted a long time. So when he ran into, if someone appreciated, people have to appreciate him. And then it would affect his understanding, like somebody liked him and it would encourage his understanding and then direct his actions. So he had he was a very emotionally sorted, like, so the Sun doesn't tell a story, it tells the psychologist. Saturn tells a certain story, formal, structured, wants respect. But his personal world was much more complicated. And his challenges to his understanding and what his principles were based on the Jupiter, Venus, Moon, this factor. And as he got older, perhaps not so good looking, not so appreciative, he wanted to live in a tower, Saturn to the ascendant, where he could be alone and be himself without having to face the complications of his, perhaps you might say, guilt-ridden or overlapped or complicated past or lifestyle. All separate pockets. I deserve it. I like it. The moon's in Taurus, ruled by Venus. I'm living here, got my family. I don't want to disturb that. But you like me. I got the secretary. Well, this is it's a separate world. Like in that immediate moment, in those feelings, he wouldn't have the brakes. He has the brakes on his personality. has the uniqueness around his goals and his own taking his own unconventional relationships, being independent in relationship with being independent. So I had to work, but I'm independent. But he had his home, but it wasn't just that. There was complications and additions to it, which affected his understanding. If it affected understanding, he could walk into people's confused situations and give some insight. And yet it leaves you wondering, well, how much clarity of insight was there? He can understand these complexes. To resolve them or to see the karmic consequences of them, that's another thing.